Hi, I'm Lincoln Cowley. And have you ever got lost? And have you ever heard the story of Watership Down? Well, I got this book called Watership Down, Hawkbit's Discovery, because it was written by Diane Redmond and it was seen on CITV. Well, why don't we read this book to find out? Because reading a book is a good way to find out. Watership Down, Hawkbit's Discovery by Diane Redmond. One morning, Hawkbit heard a strange rumbling noise coming from an abandoned burrow. When he crept inside, he saw a light shining up through the ground. It made his shadow look enormous, and he jumped when he saw it. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, and earth fell from the ceiling onto his head. "Arr!" he screamed, and ran off as fast as he could. There's Hawkbit in the burrow. Outside the warren, the rabbits were playing bobstones. When Hazel saw Hawkbit come staggering out of the warren, he hopped over to him. "What's the matter?" he asked. Hawkbit shook himself, sending up a cloud of dust. "I discovered something very strange," he said. "Come and have a look." "All right," said Hazel, heading towards the warren. "Coming, Fiver?" Fiver hesitated. Something was not right. "I suppose so," he replied. There's Hawkbit, covered in dust. "Bobstone guesses 3, Blackberry said, while she and the others are playing bobstones. "I love bobstones. It's a game among rabbits." Hawkbit led Hazel and Fiver to the abandoned burrow. Lumps of earth covered the ground, and an icy wind was now blowing. "Blackberry told us to stay out of this section," said Fiver. "It's not safe." Just ahead of them was a big hole in the floor. Hazel crept to the edge of the hole and peered down. "It's deep," he said. Then the rumbling noise started again, and the ground began to shudder. "Quick, get away!" cried Hawkbit. But the floor tipped up, and the rabbits dropped down the hole, followed by a mass of roots and rubble. Ah! Boom! Outside, Bigwig had started a training session. He was teaching the young rabbits how to keep fit. "Twice around the warren!" he shouted. "Top speed!" He did not know that the enemies from the neighboring warren, Ephrathah, were coming towards Watership Down, looking for him. Dandelion, Blackberry, and Pipkin ran round the warren and collapsed in a heap. Bigwig hopped over to them. "This is top speed," he laughed. "We're meant to be playing bobstones," grumbled Dandelion. "Can we have a rest?" "Oh, all right," said Bigwig. "I will get Hazel to set it up. But where is he?" he added, looking around the empty hillside. "Oh no. Blackberry, Dandelion, and Pipkin are exhausted because they stopped running and they needed to have a rest." Well, let's keep reading. Hazel, Fiver, and Hawkbit had fallen into a cavern below the warren. The walls glowed with a pale light. Crystals hung down from the ceiling and grew up from the floor. Hey, they look like stalagmites and stalactites. I don't see a way back up, said Hawkbit. The hole we fell through is blocked now. We'll have to find another way out. We should stay here, said Hazel. When Bigwig notices we're missing, he will soon come and find us. But it's cold and there's nothing to eat, said Fiver. Blackberry's a good digger. It won't take long, said Hazel. The abandoned burrow is the last place anybody will look, grumbled Hawkbit. But the rabbits stayed where they were. Hazel, Hawkbit and Fiver are in the Crystal Cave, just like the one in Chihuahua, Mexico. That's the Cueva de los Cristales. Rocket went there in the 36th episode of Little Einsteins called Show and Tell. Above, everybody was trying to find the missing rabbits. They had looked outside, and now they were inside the warren. Search all the burrows, ordered Bigwig, even the old ones. Primrose and Blackberry went left, and Dandelion and Pipkin went right. Bigwig started to follow, but just then he heard Kihar calling from outside. The gull had some important news. The Efrefen rabbits are close by, said Kihar. When they see me, they hide. Maybe they didn't want you to see something, said Bigwig thoughtfully. There's a chance they've captured Hazel and the others. Come on! And they both raced off. Next! Down in the cavern, Fiver and Hawkbit were getting scared. Hazel sniffed around. There's fresh air coming from somewhere, he said. There must be another way out. Hawkbit looked at the tunnels that led out of the cavern. But which way? He asked. Hazel sniffed again. Let's try here. They started down the tunnel, but suddenly Fiver froze. A black space below swallows any who go, he cried. Hazel stopped and looked at Fiver in alarm, but Hawkbit pushed past, sending Fiver hurtling towards the edge of a deep pit. Hazel swiftly pulled him to safety. Watch out, Hawkbit, said Fiver. You almost knocked me in. I just want to get out of here, said Hawkbit. Hazel said there was a way out. Hazel looked at the pit. Well, it's not this way, I'm afraid. We'll have to go back. Fiver nearly fell into the hole. Ooh, that was a very close one. All this way for nothing, cried Hawkbit, and raced back the way they'd come. When he got back to the main cavern, he didn't wait for Hazel and Fiver. He hurried up a ledge and disappeared down another tunnel. Follow him, Fiver, said Hazel. We mustn't lose him. They ran until they found Hawkbit huddled on the floor in a room of crystals. The sight of his reflection, repeated many times, had frightened him. We'll never get out, he cried. Don't be scared, whispered Fiver. We'll find a way out of here. I promise. Really? Said Hawkbit. He knew he could trust Fiver's feelings and felt a bit better. Are you okay, Hawkbit and Fiver? Yeah, they're okay. It's like an ice cave. That was from 2 episodes from Little Einsteins. They are A Tall Totem Tale and The Wind-Up Toy Prince. Kihar and Bigwig arrived at the bridge near Ephrafa, which was guarded by 2 strong rabbits. What do we do now? Said Kihar. Watch, said Bigwig. Then he marched up to the guards saying, Hey, are you looking for me? Seeing their old enemy, the guards sprang forwards. But Bigwig knocked them to the ground and held them down. Have you taken my friends prisoner? He demanded. No, no, they cried. As Bigwig let the guards go, more Ephrathans appeared. Take him, snarled Captain Vervain, but Bigwig had disappeared. Silly old Bigwig, he is on the guards. He's like a soldier. Slowly, Hazel, Fiver, and Hawkbit continued their journey through the underground tunnels. After a while, they heard the sound of running water. They followed the sound and came to a cave with a stream flowing across the floor. I can see daylight, cried Hawkbit with excitement. He waded downstream until his way was blocked by the branches of a willow tree. Hawkbit peeped out of the leaves and was astonished by what he saw. Bigwig was hiding behind a tree stump, and the Ephrathan rabbits were on the bank looking for him. Bigwig! Cried Hawkbit. Come in here! Bigwig blinked with surprise and then darted through the leaves. What are you doing here? He gasped. It's a long story, said Hawkbit, and began to explain. Wow. The cave and the river with water reeds. And they found Bigwig. That was a surprise. Let's see what will happen next in our story. Ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. The rabbits waited until it was dark and the Ephrathans had gone. Then they headed back to Watership Down. But when they got there, the warren was deserted. We're home, called Hazel, but no one answered. They searched the whole warren and finally came to the abandoned burrow. Where is everyone? Said Hazel, puzzled. Then he noticed that a new passage had been dug into the cavern below. Primrose! Blackberry! We're here! He chuckled, looking down and seeing his friends. Dandelion looked puzzled. What are you doing up there? He asked. We're down here rescuing you. Wait, what? Did they switch places? Yes, they did switch places. That's funny, they switched places. Just like Annie and Quincy did it in 3 episodes from Little Einsteins. They are Farmer Annie, The Birthday Machine, and The Great Sky Race Rematch. Last page. Later, the rabbits were playing bobstones in the underground cavern. Fiver looked around happily. Not long ago we were terrified down here, he said. Now it's part of our warren. Hazel smiled. And we have a secret way to the heart of Ephrathah. He laughed. Funny how things turn out. The rabbits were playing bobstones at the end of our story. The end. Well, that was a great story, you know. Well, we enjoyed that story. Maybe we can sign off. For me to say... Peace out, and mission completed.